We want to welcome everybody in once again to Unbox Your Code Jumper, out of the box ideas for getting started with STEM. Thank you for joining us today. We do have one presenter today, and that is Robin Lowell. She is the accessibility advocate for I2E. Joined us for several other Code Jumper webinars in the past and has a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience with Code Jumper. Let's go through our learning objectives. So we're going to identify the components of the Code Jumper kit, very important for folks who might not know all of them yet. We're going to build multiple Code Jumper programs using different pods. We will get you experience creating a program using the Code Jumper curriculum. We'll discuss the basics of coding using Code Jumper. We'll get through all of that. And finally, before we turn it over to Robin, here are some challenges, some things that you may find to be true for you. Code Jumper, it can be intimidating for teachers that don't have a whole lot of experience with coding and with STEM, asking people to get out of a comfort zone, and it can be a tough thing to do. We're going to try to help you with that today. Popular classroom coding tools are often inaccessible to students with visual impairments, and students need equitable access to coding instruction in the classroom. So we're going to help you try to get some of those things taken care of today. Let's turn this over to Robin from here on out to continue the webinar.
Great, thank you, Paul. So my name is Robin Lowell, and I am, my title has changed, and I was the Senior Manager of Accessibility for I2E. Now my title is Accessibility Advocate. And I was a TVI for years, and I worked at a school for the blind in Washington State. So I have a lot of experience in seeing kids really wanting to engage in coding and not having access. And so I was the high school math teacher at WSSB, so science and math is my jam. So that's the end. If you wouldn't mind moving me forward on the perfect. So, okay, so Code Jumper, what is Code Jumper? So many of you, it sounds like 7 of you have kits, and 9 of you are following along, and that's great. I would like to ask those of you, well, everybody, to make this an interactive experience, especially those who don't have a kit. While we're going through and building these programs, I'm happy to ask everybody to come off mute and talk about their experience. I'm going to ask them questions and we can have a dialogue. Chat's great too, but I'm happy to hear your voices and your experiences with Code Jumper and coding and your thoughts and ideas. So you can go ahead and pop us forward a slide. So this idea of why is coding important? Well, coding is important for all kids. I like the idea of the statement of yes, I can. It's important for all kids to start from the beginning learning about coding. And one main reason is there are a lot of inaccessible coding programs that are out there that kids can't engage in fully. They may be able to help design something, but they can't interact with it or drive it or see on the screen what is happening. So we're telling those kids from an early age that no, this isn't for you. You can kind of do it, but we really need to have this experience of yes, I can from the beginning. It's a lot easier for kids to have that mindset of yes, this is something I can do. Yes, this is something I can dig into. And yes, this is something that I can think about as a career early on, as opposed to trying to change that mindset of themselves as a coder, as a computer scientist, to later on when they're working on text-based versus a block-based or a visual-based coding program. Because by middle school, a lot of kids have already checked it. Yeah, that's not something I can do, or they don't have the interest, even if they know that they can do it. They're like, that mindset isn't there anymore. So we want to help all students, regardless of the level of vision, to be able to engage in this multi-sensory experience of coding that is tactile, that is auditory, that is visual, that is collaborative, to learn the basics of coding in a really engaging and really fun fun way. So if we can move forward to the next slide. So, well, let's get into it. I really want to spend our time today engaging in the coding itself. Let's experience it. Let's get those feelings that we have around coding. So what I'd like to make sure, and you can put a thumbs up or a Y in the chat. So for those of you who have a kit ready to go, make sure that the hub is turned on, it's connected to the app, and that that we're ready to go with coding. And in the information that you received ahead of time, there's ways to have your sound come through your computer. So you can have it either way. You can have your sound going through the hub, or you can have your sound going through the computer. Either way works. Okay, so I'm going to start sharing now. So Betsy, actually go to one more slide. Let's do one more slide. Let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do first. So this is our first one. This is our first program. It's just going to be a basic program building. And we'll go through the pieces and parts as we build this. So we're going to continue to build our skills and our knowledge around CodeJumper as we build it. So here we have on the screen, we need to have hub and 4 play pods out. So if you could take a moment and make sure you have access to 4 play pods on your workspace and also your hub. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So I'm going to steal the sharing. And let's see here, share screen. Make sure I share my sound. And there we go, screen 1. Okay. So if we see on my screen right now, the way I have it set up is on the right side, I'm using a document camera. And this is actually a great way if you're connecting with your students distance or what have you. I'm just using a regular old document camera, and I have on the right side of the screen all of my CodeJumper pieces just under the camera. I have my hub, all the pods, and just the whole kit displayed right now. And then on the left side of the screen, I have the CodeJumper app in a small area. And so I can see all the threads. And then below that, I actually have a Word document with my program there. So when I'm sharing my screen, you can see all the pieces that I'm doing. And I'm also sharing my sound. So when I start connecting my parts and pieces, you'll be able to hear what I'm doing. So in the chat, if you are, I'm gonna move my chat. If you are playing along, if you can throw into the chat, if you're ready with all of your pieces out, 4 play pods and your hub. I see one yes in the chat so far. So while we're getting ready, one interesting thing is CodeJumper can be a good lesson in organization because you have all these parts and pieces, and it's a great way to work with your students on the executive function idea of organizations, of where should you put all of your pods to make sure you have access to them and that they're easy to find. So you can work together and find all the right places that you can put it. So underneath my camera, I actually just have a pillow sham, so just a piece of fabric underneath my hub because my desk is white, so there's not good contrast. Okay, so let's get started. First thing we need to do in the app is figure out which sound set that we're going to be using. And I can see in my code card, we're going to be building Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And this is a great one to start with because it's something that everybody knows. You know the basis of how it should go, you know the basic tune. I won't like torture you with me singing it, but we know it's Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. So what we're going to do in thread 2, so our code card says program 1, basic program building, thread 2, Twinkle Twinkle. Play Twinkle 1 for 1 time speed, play twinkle 2 for 1 times speed, play little for 1 times speed, and play star for 1 times speed. Okay, that's a lot of information at one time. So we're going to go through that one line at a time. So first thing we need to do is up in our hub, up at thread 2, we can select, you can with your mouse or your keyboard, select thread 2, and it pulls up the sound category and sound set. So under sound category, make sure it's set to sample sounds, because that's where Twinkle Twinkle is. And then below that, we want to find Twinkle Twinkle. So I'd like to pause there for a moment and see from all of our code jumpers out there that we are good to go and everybody has their sound set in thread 2 selected for Twinkle Twinkle. You can come off mute and say yes, you can throw it in the chat. Just don't want to go too fast or too slow. All right, I got some yes, great. Karen's ready to go. Fantastic. I'm a bit lost. Okay, Tina. So I have a question for you. Are you using a kit? And feel free to come off mute and we can walk it through for everybody too. Okay, so you have your hub attached to the app, so it's ready to go. Oh, mine's actually up. Okay. So and your app is open, and I have the kit by now. Oh, so if you have to have the app downloaded in order to go through the process. You can go through connecting them, but without the app, it's not going to make the sound because the sound comes through the computer. Okay, you can see it. Okay, so that's all we need to do right now. So Tina, you have the hub and you have in the app, you have thread 2 set to Twinkle Twinkle, because that's as far as we've gotten so far. Perfect. Okay, so we need to write our first line of code. And so we take one of the pods, the play pod, which is the blue and white pod, 2 dials, flat dial and a tall dial. And with the cord, we're just going to plug it into the port on the front of the hub for thread 2, and you should hear it click. So if you don't see the code, unplug it and plug it in again. And make sure your hub is attached. So make sure that you roll the rocker dial all the way over so that it is that the hub is on and connected via Bluetooth. All right. Okay. So we have one play pod plugged in, and then Tina will work together to make sure that that happens. And then
Okay.
just make sure that your hub is attached to the computer, and you can see it says Bluetooth on the symbol up on the right, up on the top. And if it might say no Bluetooth, and it's not connected. And if it says Bluetooth when it's connected. So Sarah has a question. Can you plug in any play pod, or does it have to be a certain one? No, it can be any of them, because the next step that we're going to do is actually find the right sound. So our code card said play Twinkle 1 for 1 times speed. So we're going to actually turn the flat dial, it kind of looks like a donut with the ridges on it, or the rings on it, until you hear twinkle, twinkle, or hear twinkle.
Twinkle.
Okay, I need to change my sound because you probably can't hear. So, oh, okay. So it's interesting. Sometimes, basically, the Code Jumper hub is like a Bluetooth speaker. So I had to turn. Okay, great. I had to turn it back over to my computer. So I'm going to keep turning it so we have Twinkle 1.
Twinkle.
Oh, now it's deciding not to play nicely. There we go. Okay. I'm going to turn my star.
Twinkle.
Okay, I have twinkle. And if you read the code, which is stop and play at the same time on the hub.
Thread 2 twinkle, twinkle. Play twinkle 1 for 2 times speed.
Okay, so I have
End thread.
twinkle 1, but it's 2 times speed. So I'm going to turn the tall dial. That's really slow.
Twinkle.
1 times speed. Okay, are we good to go? Does everybody have twinkle 1 already? I can hear some yeses, see some yeses in the chat. Fantastic. Okay, so this is pretty basic. It seems simple, but there's a lot of steps here. And so a lot of our kids, have to work through and process all of this information. And so moving slowly and using a really well-known tune is a great way to do it, because we're reducing that cognitive load by they know the song. They know the sound, so that makes it a little bit easier. Okay, so let's add in this second hub, the second play pod, which just click in kind of like a train to the first play pod. There's a port on the opposite side of the play pod from the cord, and we can just add it in. Almost looks like the snap beads that the little kids play with. Okay, so our code card says twinkle 2. So we do the same thing. Let's turn this flat dial
Twinkle.
to
Little twinkle.
okay. We have another twinkle. So twinkle twinkle goes twinkle twinkle. So there's 2 different sounds there. So if you're not sure which it is, and we need twinkle 2, you can again press the stop and play button on the hub at the same time and read your code.
Thread 2 twinkle, twinkle. Play twinkle 1 for 1 times speed. Play twinkle 2 for 1 times speed. End thread.
So I have twinkle 1 and twinkle 2. Now we can do this again. Let's add in another play pod. So this is our third one. Same process, clicking it in to the end of the second play pod. And the code card tells us little for 1 times speed. So we turn the flat dial so we hear the word little.
Twinkle, twinkle, little.
Okay, so now we have most of our sounds in, and it looks like it's at 1 times speed. And just repeat for the last one. And so the next one is star. So I'm just going to turn until it says
Little twinkle, twinkle star.
okay. So does everybody have 4 play pods connected to their hub? All right, I can throw a yes in the chat, come off mute, and if not, I'll just assume that you do. And so now what I want you to do is we have to run the code. So we need to actually listen to the program that we created. And to do that, we press just this on the hub, this large button that has an inscribed triangle in it, and we press just that button.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
All right, so we just created a program of Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. While it's playing, I actually touch each one of the play pods as the sound plays, and that's called tracing the code. And that's something that's good to know, that they do that in computer science all the time. When they're watching the code, they're actually following it along so they can see if there's an error, they know where the error is. So is everybody ready to move on? Or do you need a little bit more time to finish this program? So today we're just getting our feet wet. We're just diving in, putting them together just to get this experience with CodeJumper. All right, I'll take the silence as a yes. Okay, so Betsy Ann, do you want to grab hold of, see the code on the bottom? Oh, fantastic. So the code on the bottom, I'm not sure, is that on underneath the Twinkle 2, all the lines of code? Make sure your hub is connected. If it's not connected, then you're not going to see the code for it to run.
Robin, it might be that when you were sharing your screen, you had the CodeJumper app on top and then the instructions on your code, how you were going to program Code Jumper, that might be what Tina is
Oh,
referring to.
yes, sorry, that's just a Word document that I have just set underneath so we can see what we're doing. I just put it on the screen. So the code card is just something I've done. Just to make it so we can see it all at the same time.
Great, thanks, Tina. So those are instructions kind of similar to if you'd gone on codejumper.com, you'd grabbed a lesson plan and you were working through it. That's what Robin's referencing. So you are doing great.
Nice job. And I love the questions. Thank you. I appreciate that. So our first question, and this is not a poll question where we're clicking a button. I want to hear your impression. You can put it in the text, in the chat, or say it out loud. So what is your impression? You just built your first program. You're now coders. So what impressions do you have? I'll just take a moment, and I'd love to hear from you of what you think about your first coding experience. So kind of show, it was good, very easy, good. So there was not a heavy lift for this one for Jeff. And Karen says, can you show the thread information again? So as in the thread on the app or thread or the code card, Karen? And so, or where the threads are.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop my share so you can show that one more time.
Sure. Yes, the app definitely works well with JAWS. Yeah, everything is keyboard accessible and it works well with JAWS. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and share again. And David said it was a new experience of hands-on connecting the dots to learn what the pieces are. Yes, it's really nice to like, oh, this is what this piece does. And again, jumping in and getting your feet wet, getting your hands dirty with Code Jumper is what it's all about. Okay, so I am going to share my screen again. And okay. All right, so Karen, show the thread information again. Okay, I unplugged mine. So on the hub, the little plugs in front, those are the threads. And then they match up to, on the app, thread 1, thread 2, 3, and 4. So that when I plug my program in, it will show up there. Awesome. So are you all ready to kind of go to a more challenging coding experience? All right, Jeff's excited. Woohoo! Okay, so we just made a basic coding program just in a line. There is nothing tricky about it, just from A to, actually A to D. So let's go ahead and take that apart. So go ahead and take your play pods off of your
No code to play.
and then take them apart. Now we're back to having all of our pods just kind of sitting around in front of us. But again, I would suggest creating an experience for your students where they're putting everything back in the same place so they're easy to find. It's decreasing frustration and increasing organizational skills. All right, so this time we are actually going to, so I'm gonna, Betsy, and I'm gonna stop sharing so you can share that PowerPoint slide to show what we need this time.
Got it.
So we will always need our hub. So our hub is super important. But we say that is like, that's where it all begins. So for this one, we're going to need 8 of our play pods and our loop pod. So our loop pod is the only pod that has 2 cords coming from it. It is white and yellow, and it has a flat yellow dial on top of it. Okay, so let's see here. What we're going to do is I'm going to get ready to share. Oh, sorry, actually, we need both of our, we need 2 loop pods. I actually put 1, but we need 2 because I know you guys can do this. This is super fun. Okay, so Betsy Ann, I'm going to steal a sharing back from you. Okay, so on the screen right now,
No code to play.
set up, I have my hub, and I just have 2 loop pods sitting in there, but let's work with them one at a time. So moving one out of the way. So there's a hint that I think is really important for everybody to know, that when you're building your loops, it's important to build them not connected to the hub. So we build them first unconnected, and then we connect them to them. So we're going to be creating basically a round, song, same song, we're just starting a little bit out of sequence, and that sounds beautiful together. So we're going to be using the sound set this time in threads 1 and thread 2 for reference. So first thing I'd like you to do is in the app, under thread 1 and thread 2, find the sound set that is make new friends. For thread 1 and thread 2. It took me, I don't know why I didn't realize this right away, but the sound sets are all in alphabetical order. So that is very helpful to find them. So make new friends is what we're looking for both threads. All right. So first thing we're going to do is our first loop. And the way the loop pod works is we have a short cord coming out, and that's the one that connects either to the hub or a play pod outside of the loop. And then on the bottom side, the lower side of the loop pod, there is an extra port. This one has 2 ports. So the lower one, that's the beginning of our loop. So for this program, we're going to be having 4 play pods inside of the loop. So it says loop, make new friends, and we're going to loop it 2 times. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then we have 4 play pods connected. So go ahead and starting from that lower port, connect 4 play pods together. So 1, I have 2, I have 3, and I have 4. So a loop, you think about a loop, is something that goes around and around and around. And this is a concept that a lot of students in a text-based coding experience really struggle with. And because it's just a whole series of parentheses and information that's all text. So I think loop in CodeJumper is one of my favorite topics because it shows it in such a concrete way that you can see the loop, you can feel the loop. It goes around in a circle, and you can go around and around and around. And the reason we use a loop in computer science is so that way you're not writing the same bit of code again and again. You're just saying, play it again, play it again. It's like it's on repeat. Okay, so now we have our loop, but we need to close our loop. So we know it's time to go around. We have a long cord coming out of the loop pod, and that long cord connects to the loop. So now we have a circle. You can see it's connected. And let's go ahead and put that into thread 1. Okay, can I see a show of yeses or thumbs up or verbal that we have some loops built? So we have our loop pod and then 4 play pods connected. Okay, Karen says yes. Jeff says yes. Tina says yes. Fantastic. David says yes. Great. Okay, so now we need to actually have it make the right sound. So our first line of code, so that's the play pod that comes out directly out of the loop pod. That's our first one. We need to have it say, make new friends, but keep the old. So turn that sound dial until it says,
That's make new friends, but keep the old.
okay, that's our first one. And then the second one is silver and the other's gold.
A circle, that's how make new. One is silver and the other's gold. old.
Okay, so that's our second. Our third is a circle is round, it has no end. So I go to the third play pod, and with the short dial, I'm turning it.
One is silver and the a circle is round. It has.
Okay, and then when you're, these ones are longer, so you can stop them by using the stop button on the hub, which is the circle with the square inscribed in it. And so our fourth one, our code card says, that's how long I want to be your friend. So I'm going to turn it.
Make new one a sir. That's how
Okay.
long I want to.
And just happenstance is that all of my times were right, which is 1 times speed. So that's thread 1. And so for thread 2, so it says that's the end of the thread. And then the code card continues in thread 2. We're also using make new friends. But this time we're adding in a pause pod. So a pause pod is the pod that is white and kind of an orangish red color, 1 dial on top that is tall and ridged. So it's telling us to add in the pause pod to our hub. So in thread 2, I'm just gonna put that into thread 2. And it says pause for 2 beats. So I'm turning my dial until it says 2 beats.
A quarter beat, 2 beats.
Okay. And then since everyone's already built one, we're going to build the same loop. So outside of the hub, go ahead and put in, again, 4 play pods. So I have 1 play pod I've connected. I'm going to move this over this way.
Make new friends.
Okay, so go ahead and build those. I have 1 connected so far. I'm connecting my second play pod to my first play pod. And then I have my third play pod connecting. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, and then I have 4 connected, and then I need to close it up the loop with the longer cord. And I'm going to try to get everything on the camera.
A circle is.
Okay, so what we have now is this pause pod connected to our thread 2. And I'm going to connect the loop to that. So I plug in the short cord of the loop into the end of the pause pod. All right. So I do have a question so far. Has anybody heard a nice little burping sound from their loops? So if there is an error in computer science and coding, you get an error message or it doesn't work. In CodeJumper, if you have an error, it actually makes a burping sound. And I'll show you what that sounds like. So I'm going to plug in my pods. I'm going to press play. So you get this burp sound. Kids love it. And so that tells you, uh-oh, you have an error and you need to debug. And debugging is the computer science term for fixing an error. So I'm going to go, okay, I plugged it into the wrong port. Okay, so now we have our first thread is all done. It doesn't have a pause pod. You should have 3 pause pods. So they look, I'll put this under the camera. So they look kind of this reddish orange with a tall dial.
I found it. I don't know.
Okay,
Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
no,
found
no.
it. Well, I
There's
actually
a
found
lot.
it.
Yeah, there's
Thank
a lot
you.
of things there. Okay, so we need to create the same sound because, a round has the song 2 times in a row, just kind of offset from each other. So we turn our sound dial to make new friends, but keep the old. And remember, this is the play pod that comes right off of the loop pod. I'm going to turn it.
Make new friends, but keep.
Great. And mine is at 1 time speed. And I'm going to check the second one. And the second one says, one is silver and the other is gold.
That's how make new. One is silver and the other's gold.
Great. So that's my second play pod. My third play pod is a circle is round, it has no end.
A circle is
Great.
round, it has no.
And the fourth is that's how long.
Make new friends. One is a circle. That's how long.
But for sake of time, I'm not listening to the whole thing. So you can just listen to the whole thing if that works for you and your students. So if you want to, and we're not going to do this right now, but if you feel more comfortable, go ahead and run the code and listen to it so that we can hear the whole thing. It'll read the entire code card, thread 1 and then thread 2. But if everybody is ready and you have do it as you're ready, you can press the play button and hear your program that you just created. So I'm going to press play.
Make new friends, make new friends, but keep a circle is round. It has no end. A circle is round. It has no.
All right, so it just goes in a round. But I made an error. I did not debug my program before I pressed play, because in my first thread, it says loop 6 times. And in my code card, it says loop 2 times. And thread 2, it says loop 5 times, and it should say 2. So the way we fix that is the dial on top of the loop pod, we just turned it to however many times we want to have it go round. So for
7, 8, 1, 2,
so I want it to be 2.
6, 7, 8, 1, 2.
Okay, so if I press play, I'm gonna do this again now that I realize, oh, there's an error. And I'm just gonna press play. And so for those of you who have kids, do the same thing and just listen to the whole thing and try following along with tracing the code. This is an exercise. It's kind of like trying to pat your head and rub your stomach, trying to do both of them, but it's a good challenge.
Make new friends, make new friends. That's how a circle is round. It has no end. A circle is round. It has no. That's how long I want to be your friend. Make new friends, but keep the old. A circle is round. It has.
All right, so it went through a couple of times. So how about if anybody wants to talk, it looks like you need to raise your hands to who's going to talk. What do you guys think about that? Just as a show of yeses or woohoos, were you able to get the program to make both threads go and make it around? Woohoo, good job, Jeff. Nice. Yes, in all caps. That's fantastic. Look at all this coding we're doing. We can rule the world. Yes. So yes, and David says very interesting. I know it's pretty fascinating. I love this tactile experience and of all these senses we're using to learn the basics of coding. Okay.
Robin?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
Can you go over what does the pause pod do?
So it does exactly what it says. So thinking it's like if you're musically inclined, it's like a rest.
Okay.
So it's 2 beats of silence or a quarter beat of silence. It just adds kind of a wait time in your program.
Okay.
So, yeah, and this one, it stops that second thread from starting for 2 beats.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then the other thing I was wondering is this time speed, the 1 time speed, or I guess you can move it up to 2, or I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not very musically inclined, but so how do we go in and change the 1 time or 2 times to speed?
Sure, that is the second dial on the play pod. So that tall dial with the ridges.
Okay. Yeah.
When you turn that,
Okay.
It makes it slower, faster, stretches
Oh,
it
okay.
out. Yeah.
Okay. But 1 time speed is the typical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just how it was recorded, is that speed.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Yes. All right. So Betsy Ann, I'm going to throw it back to you to share your screen and move to our next one.
Great, we've got a question first.
So this is interesting. Thinking about loops and sequences. So we had our sequence of the way things went around. Where do we see loops and sequences every day in our lives? And I think this is an important one to think about. So just think about, where do we see loops that we do every day that we don't think about outside of computer science that we can make parallels to? Anybody have an idea? Walking the halls. Yes, exactly. Brushing our teeth. Fantastic. Yeah, we do those things every day. The same routine, that loop of going around again and again. Arguing with my kids. Oh my goodness, yes. It just seems to never end. And then what ends up happening is there's an error and then it's a burp. So yes, I agree. So fantastic. Yeah, so there's a lot of things, this idea of loops, it's not just solely computer science. And I love making parallels between our computer science life and our everyday life, that these things overlap. So nice job. Okay, so actually, can you advance the slide, please, madam?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the last concept we're going to work on today, and we're going to do this one. This one takes more time, but I just wanted you to experience what the plugs are using a selection pod. So while I'm talking really quick, go ahead and undo your programs and disassemble your code. So we have an if-else statement. And so that's a basic computer science coding concept that you find across all computer science curriculums. And the CodeJumper curriculum is parallel and follows right along with the CSTA, Computer Science Teachers Association, all of their concepts and standards. And so an if-else statement is right in there. So if else, what is it? To check and see if some expression is true. And if it is, do something. Otherwise, do something else. Defining a statement that evaluates true or false. So we're going to create some of those true or false statements right in CodeJumper. And we call it the selection pod. So I'd like everybody to find their selection pods, which are the green ones, green and white, 2 dials on top, the cord coming out of the middle, as well as our merge pod, which is green and white with 2 cords coming out of one side, no dials at all. So while we're talking about this, start gathering your parts and pieces. So a selection is a structure in computer programming where if a question is asked, the program decides what to do next based upon the answer. This is sometimes referred to as an if-else statement. And I love comparing it to the choose your own adventure. Your whole entire experience is different depending on what selection you make. So what we're going to do is, Betsy Ann, if I could have you go to the next slide.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. So you need to look and see. I wasn't very quick on my words.
I was anticipating something that didn't happen.
All right. Okay, so this is interesting. So we're going to need 5 play pods this time. So grab 5 play pods. 3, 4, 5. Make sure we can see them on my screen. Okay. So I have 5 play pods. The selection pod, the green and white with 2 dials, the merge pod, green and white, 2 cords, no dials, and some of the plugs. So the plugs we need are 2, 7, and the R. Okay, So now actually I will steal back from you. Oh no, and we're gonna have to do this really fast because this is taking longer than I anticipated. Such good conversation. So if I could get that back from you, and I will share. And share my screen. I could talk about CodeJumper all day long. All right. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to go to our last one. This one's really fun. It's really fun. It won't take much time to build together, but this is about an explosion. It's great. Kids love it. So first things first. Now you guys are well versed in how to change your threads. So in thread 1, choose the sound set explosion. Okay. So we go to explosion. And then we're going to add 3 play pods into thread 1. So I'm just going to plug in a sequence. So then I'm right in a row, 3 play pods. Great. And then after that, let's throw in our selection pod, which again is the green and white with the 2 dials. Okay, great. And now you see on the selection pod, there's 2 little plugs coming out of it. So we're going to take those 2 other play pods and plug them right into our selection pod. So what you should have now is, come on, cooperate. There we go. So I have from the hub 1, 2, 3 play pods, selection pod, and from the selection pod, 2 more play pods. And using the merge pod, those 2 play pods at the end of selection pod will connect it back. It's kind of like a fork in the road. It brings it back to 1 line of code from that selection. All right. You can bring it back together. And if you want, you can throw 1 at the end just to see what it says. Okay. Now we have to set it up. We have the framework, but now let's set it up. So the code card says play 3 one-time speed. So that 1 play pod.
4, 5, 4, 3.
3. All right. So our first play pod is 3. Play pod 2. Says 2. And our third play pod says
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
1. And just make sure all of your
2.
Play pods are at 1-time speed. Okay. Now it says, this is where it gets interesting. In the code card, it says if 2 is greater than 7. So we got some math happening here. So on the selection pod, we have a 2-spoke dial, we have a 3-spoke dial. And I'm going to turn the 2-spoke dial
2
to 2, because in the app it says if 2 is greater than, and then I'm going to turn the dial, the 3-spoke dial, to 7, because it's 2 is greater than 7.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Okay, now is that a true statement? If 2 is greater than 7, we're just looking at it on face value. Well, it's not, but it says if 2 is greater than 7. Play, explosion. So then on the sound dial, on the play pod that comes from the selection pod next to the 2-spoke dial, that's a lot of directions. We want it to
4,
the explosion.
5.
Explosion. And then it says else play breaking glass. So the 3-spoke dial, we want it to the
2, 1.
Oh no!
breaking glass. And then if you have the extra one on the end, you can change that one to oh no.
Oh no!
Okay, do we have any questions really quickly? Is that making sense? Anyone lost? So I'll take silence as I'm on top of it. Okay, so now let's play our program.
3, 2, 1.
Breaking glass.
Oh no!
And the reason it's breaking glass is because the statement is not true. It says if 2 is greater than 7, then you need to play explosion. But if that's not a true statement, that's the else, play breaking glass. If we change this, and this is a great like sandbox experience. So we can change this to say
3, 7, 8.
if 8 is greater than 7, what do you guys think? What should it play? Just think about that. What should it play? So let's go through it and see.
3, 2, 1.
Explosion. That's very good. It's because that is a true
Oh
statement.
no!
Right. If the statement is true, do this. If it's something else, play the other. So that's what this is, a more advanced concept of CodeJumper, this selection. So this is in the CodeJumper curriculum at codejumper.com. This is in lessons like up in the 10s, 11, 12 lesson is where you're going to find this. Because we build our way all the way through with the lessons getting to this point where you can have all the other experiences. And so for the sake of time, Betsy Ann, I'd like to turn it back over to you so that way we can wrap it all up.
All right. We have one more question to ask our group today that you can ruminate on as we do our brief wrap up of today's lesson.
Yes. So just think about this. We talked a little bit about the organization earlier, but as your programs grow in complexity, how are you effectively organizing your workspace? This is a concept that we can take from math to science to reading and writing, but this is a great way to kind of explore that with students as these are getting harder to manage all these pieces and parts we're using. And then if we're using plugs on top of that, how do we manage all this stuff on our desk at one time? So just go ahead and think about that. And then, so if you want to learn more information about coding, there's these great resources, code.org, K12cs.org, Computer Science Teachers, and CS for All. So if you want to dig in deeper, go check out these resources and experience that as well. All right, so you can go ahead and move forward from there. And we're gonna skip this. When you go to K12 CS, you learn all about the core practices, and you can read about those as well. And it'll be in the PowerPoint that you can get after this. And that, so the CodeJumper is available on federal quota funds, and the curriculum is all there. There's 19 amazing lessons with some more puzzles to come. And you can find more information about that at codejumper.com. And right now, it's available on Windows 10 as well as Android. Is where the app will work on.
Great. So Paul, would you wrap us up quickly with discoveries and the CodeJumper slide, and then we will share our closing code.
Sure. So as you've learned today, computer science is an important part of every student's education, and anyone can teach coding with CodeJumper. It uses natural language to introduce coding concepts. And it also it adheres to the code practices of computer science. You'll hear more about that when you look at that stuff that Robin was talking about at the end. Finally, CodeJumper, it is available on quota and non-quota. $769 is the quota price, $999 for non-quota. If you have any questions, contact APH and just take a look at codejumper.com. There's a whole lot of stuff there and lots of lessons and some more things coming up in the near future we'll talk about at some point.